Hello everyone and welcome to this video channel Science Class 8. In the previous video class we studied chapter number 9, reproduction in animals. And in today's video also let's continue this same topic, chapter number 9, reproduction in animals. Today let's see textbook page number 130. Viviparous and oviparous animals. So let's see what are viviparous animals and what are oviparous animals. Before we start, I will explain what are viviparous animals. Those animals, they give birth to young ones. They are called viviparous animals. And on the other hand, oviparous animals are those animals and they lay eggs. They are called oviparous animals. So let's start. Oviparous and viviparous and oviparous animals. We have learned that some animals give birth to young ones, while some animals lay eggs, which later develop into young ones. As we already know that some animals, they give birth to young ones, and some other animals, they lay eggs, and which later develop into young ones. So the animals which give birth to young ones are called viviparous animals. And those animals which lay eggs are called oviparous animals. The following activity will help you understand better and differentiate between viviparous and oviparous animals. So let's see activity 9.2. Activity 9.2. Let's see. Before we start this activity 9.2, say viviparous animals. Those animals, they give birth to young ones. Say, for example, rat, maybe tiger, maybe cow, maybe buffalo, including human. All are viviparous animals. And on the other hand, say oviparous animals, they lay eggs. Say like birds, maybe birds, and say maybe a snake. Most of the animals, they lay egg, and when the eggs are later develop into young ones, so they are called oviparous animals. Activity 9.2, let's see. Try to observe eggs of the following organisms: frog, lizard, butterfly, or moth, hen, and crow, or any other bird where you able to observe eggs of all of them. Make drawings of the eggs that you have observed. So in this activity 9.2, we have to try to observe eggs of the following organism. Egg of, say, frog, maybe frog, lizard, butterfly, or moth. They are all lay eggs. Even hen and crow or any other bird. So most of them, they lay egg. And were you able to observe eggs of all of them? Yes, we can observe the eggs of these animals and make drawings of the eggs that you have observed. And you have to draw the drawings of the eggs you have observed. So here it is mentioned about the oviparous animals. Now the eggs of a few animals are easy to observe because their mothers lay them outside their bodies. These are examples of oviparous animals. So, in the oviparous animals, as we have mentioned above, may be frog, lizard, butterfly, moth, hen, or crow. Such animals, the mother lay eggs outside their bodies. So, these are examples of oviparous animals, but you would not be able to collect the eggs of a dog, cow, or cat. Yes, they also produce eggs, but we cannot collect such type of eggs. This is because they do not lay eggs. The mother gives birth to young ones. These are examples of viviparous animals. So, such animals like cow, dog, cat, they also produce egg, but their egg do not produce outside the body. Their eggs are produced inside their body, and the mother of such animals, they give young ones. So these are the examples of viviparous animals. In the next page, let's see. Next page number 131. Let's see. Can you now give some more examples of viviparous and oviparous animals? Viviparous and oviparous animals. Can you give now some more examples? Yes, for viviparous animals, humans are also viviparous animal. Even the bat, what we know in our local language is shakpi. They are also viviparous animal, and even rat, they are also viviparous animal. And oviparous animals. Oviparous animals, here we can mention snake. They are also oviparous animal. So many examples are there. Young ones to adults. Young ones to adults. Let's see. The new individuals which are born or hatch from the eggs continue to grow till they become adults. In some animals, the young ones may look very different from the adults. Recall the life cycle of the silkworm. So, in the life cycle of the silkworm, it can be mentioned as egg, larva, or caterpillar, and pupa, adult. So these are the stages of life cycle of silkworm. So you studied in class 7. So frog is another such example. Figure number 9.10. Frog is also another such example. And now observe the different stages of frog, starting from the egg to the adult stage. So here we find that there are three distinct stages. There is egg, tadpole or larva, and adult. So these three distinct stages are there in the life cycle of frog. Don't the tadpoles look so different from the adults? So can you imagine that these tadpoles would someday become frogs? And similarly, the caterpillar or the pupa of silkworm looks very different from the adult moth. So here it says in the life cycle of frog, it is mentioned that egg, tadpole or larva, and adult. These three stages are there in the life cycle of frog. So tadpole or larva is quite different with the adult frog. So here question says, can you imagine that these tadpoles would someday become frog? So do you believe that these tadpoles after some days they would become, say, adult frog. But tadpole is quite different from the adult frog, so we cannot believe that tadpole may come to adult frog. But after some few days, tadpole definitely will come to adult frog. Similarly, the caterpillar or the pupa of silkworm looks very different from the adult moth. In the same way, caterpillar or the pupa of silkworm, they are also very different from the adult moth. Then after some days, they also become adult moth. The fissures, that are present in the adult are not found in those young ones. So then what happens to the tadpoles or caterpillars thereafter? So the fissures that are present in the adult are not found in these young ones, maybe in the larval stage. So adulthood characters are not seen in the larval stage. Then what happened to the tadpoles or caterpillars thereafter? Then after some days, then they become the adulthood. That means the same species. So you must have seen a beautiful moth emerging out of the cocoon. In the case of tadpoles, they transform into adults capable of jumping and swimming. The transformation of the larva into an adult through drastic changes is called metamorphosis. So here is a term. Metamorphosis is the transformation of the larva into an adult through drastic changes. That is called metamorphosis. So what about the changes that we observe in your body as we grow? So what about the changes that we observe in our body? In our body, we observe some changes as we grow. So do you think we too undergo metamorphosis? We human beings also undergo metamorphosis. Say in human beings, body parts similar to those present in the adults are present from the time of birth. So the body parts similar to those present in the adults are present from the time of birth. So when we are born by our mother, then the body parts are there when we born. Then the body parts become large when we get adulthood. So in the case of the animals, metamorphosis is one of the important process and through which the transformation of the larva into an adult through drastic change takes place. So that process is called metamorphosis. Now next, let's continue sexual reproduction. So far we have learned about reproduction in some familiar animals, but what about very small animals like hydra and microscopic organisms like amoeba? How they reproduce? For the bigger animals, we somewhat know the reproduction of animals, but for the very small animals like hydra and microscopic organisms like amoeba, how do they reproduce? Do you know how they reproduce? Let us find out. Let's see. Here is life cycle of frog. Say here is the adult frog. Then adult frog lay egg. This is the egg, and this egg become say early tadpole. Here is the early tadpole, and this is the late tadpole. Then this is the adult frog. So in the life cycle of the frog, adult, egg, then early tadpole, late tadpole, and adulthood. This life cycle would take place in the life cycle of frog. In the next page, let's see. In the next page, page number 132, activity 9.3, let's see. Activity 9.3, what it says. Activity 9.3, get prominent slides of hydra. Observe them using hand lens or a microscope. Look out for any bubbles. From the parent body, count the number of bulges that you see in different slides. Also note the size of the bulges. Draw the diagram of hydra as you see it. Compare it with the figure 9.11. Figure number 9.11 say hydra. As you have seen this picture. This picture is the hydra. So how they reproduce? Reproduction takes place in hydra by budding. So let's continue. In each hydra, there may be one or more bulges. These bulges are the developing new individuals and they are called buds. And recall the presence of buds in yeast. And in hydra 2, the new individuals develop as outgrowths from a single parent. This type of reproduction, in which only a single parent is involved, is called asexual reproduction. Since new individuals develop from the buds in hydra, this type of asexual reproduction is called budding. So in the hydra, they reproduce by budding. So there may be one or more bulges. These bulges are the developing new individuals and they are called buds. So such type of reproduction is called asexual reproduction, since new individuals develop from the buds in hydra. So this type of asexual reproduction is called budding. Another method of asexual reproduction is observed in the microscopic organism, that is amoeba. Let us see how this happens. So you have already learned about the structure of amoeba. You will recall that amoeba is a single cell organism. Figure number 9.12 we can see here, and it begins the process of reproduction by the division of its nucleus into two nuclei. So figure number 9.12b here. This is followed by division of its body into two such parts receiving a nucleus. We can see in figure number 9.12c, and finally two amoeba are produced from one parent amoeba. So this type of asexual reproduction in which an animal reproduces by dividing into two individuals is called binary fission. So apart from budding and binary fission, there are other methods by which single parent reproduces young ones. You will study about this in your higher classes. So here is the reproduction in amoeba. We can see in this figure number A single cell is here. From this single cell, then dividing nucleus division is starts first. Then after that, cytoplasmic division also involved. Then this single cell becomes about to divide two in this C, figure number C. And in figure number D, two daughter cells of amoeba are formed. In this way, amoeba reproduce by a method that is called binary fission. So one single cell, it produces to the third cell in figure number D. So in such way, amoeba reproduce. Next, let's see the story of Dolly, that is the clone. Okay, now let's see story of Dolly, the clone. Here, clone is a biological term, and what is clone? Let's see. Cloning is the reproduction of an exact copy of a cell, any other living part, or a complete organism. Cloning of an animal was successfully performed for the first time by Ian Wilmot and his colleagues at the Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland. They successfully cloned a sheep named Dolly. Here, figure number 9.13c is shown. Dolly was born on 5th July 1996 and was the first mammal to be cloned. Here, in 5th July 1996, Dolly was born. So here, cloning is nothing. It is the production of an exact copy of a cell, and any other living part or a complete organism. So cloning of an animal was successfully performed for the first time by Ian Wilmot and his colleagues at the Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland. And they successfully cloned a sheep named Dolly. Here, Dolly is shown here. And Dolly was born on 5th July 1996 and was the first mammal to be cloned. So here, figure number 19.13, Dolly is shown here. So, during the process of cloning Dolly, a cell was collected from the mammary gland of a female pin dorsal sheep, figure number 9.13a. So, while the process of cloning was done for Dolly, then a cell was collected from the mammary gland of female pin dorsal. Female pin dorsal sheep is shown here. From the mammary gland of this female pin dorsal sheep, and simultaneously an egg was obtained from a Scottish blackface OE. Figure number 9.13b is shown here. Egg was obtained from what? Egg was obtained from a Scottish blackface OE. The nucleus was removed from the egg. Then the nucleus of the mammary gland cell from the pin dorsal sheep was inserted into the egg of the Scottish blackface OE, whose nucleus had been removed. The egg thus produced was implanted into the Scottish blackface OE. Development of this egg followed normally, and finally Dolly was born. Though Dolly was given birth by the Scottish blackface OE, it was found to be absolutely identical to the pin dorsal sheep, from which the nucleus was taken. And since the nucleus from the egg of the Scottish blackface OE was removed, Dolly did not show any character of the Scottish blackface OE. Dolly was a healthy clone of the pin dorsal sheep and produced several offspring of her own through normal sexual means. Unfortunately, Dolly died on 14 February 2003. 14 February 2003, Dolly died. due to a certain lung disease. Since Dolly, several attempts have been made to produce clone mammals. However, many die before birth or die soon after birth. The clone animals are many a times found to be born with severe abnormalities. So, here in the process of cloning, that is Dolly, the process is done, say, the first cell was collected from the mammary gland of a female pin dorsal sheep from this mammary gland, and simultaneously an egg was obtained from a Scottish blackface. Then the nucleus of the cell that is taken from the Scottish blackface is removed, and nucleus of the mammary gland cell from the pin dorsal sheep was inserted into the egg of the Scottish blackface and whose nucleus had been removed. So, thus egg produced was implanted into the Scottish blackface. So, development of this egg followed normally, and finally Dolly was born. So, these are all about the process of the clone, that is Dolly. So, since Dolly, several attempts have been made to produce clone mammals, but many die before birth or die soon after birth, and the clone animals are many times found to be born with severe abnormalities. So, clone animals are born with severe abnormalities. So, with that, we end this chapter. So, in the next, let's see some question answers for this chapter. The first one, explain, this is textual question, explain the importance of reproduction in organisms. Importance of reproduction in organisms, we have to explain. Here, explain the importance of reproduction in organisms. How can we explain about this thing, about this question? We can explain very briefly. Say, reproduction is essential for the continuation of a species. And another one, it ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individuals, generation after generation. So these are the two main points for this question. The first point is reproduction is essential for the continuation of a species, and second point, it ensures the continuation of similar kinds of individuals, generation after generation. And for this question number 2, describe the process of fertilization in human beings. So, for this question, we can say there is sexual reproduction in human beings. Male reproductive organs produce sperms, that is male gametes, and while the female gametes produce ova, that is female gametes. The sperms are ejected inside female bodies where they fuse with ovum and forms zygote. That is called internal fertilization. And the zygote begins to develop into an embryo which attaches to the female uterus wall. The embryo further multiplies into many cells and develops further into a small baby called fetus. And for the question number 3, choose the most appropriate answer. So here, internal fertilization occurs, option 1, in female body, option 2, outside female body, option 3, in male body, option 4, outside male body. So choose the most appropriate answer. A. Internal fertilization occurs. Internal fertilization occurs. This option number 1, in female body. This is the correct option. So for number B, a tadpole develops into an adult frog by the process of option 1, fertilization, option 2, metamorphosis, option 3, embedding, option 4, budding. So the correct option is option 2, metamorphosis. This one is the correct option. And question C, the number of nuclei present in a zygote is option 1, none, option 2, 1, option 3, 2, option 4, 4. So for this question, the correct option is option 2, 1. And question number 4, indicate whether the following statements are true or false. So we have to answer this question. Oviparous animals give birth to young ones. So this is actually false. Oviparous animals they don't give birth to young one, they lay eggs. So this is false. Number B, each sperm is a single cell. Actually, this is true. This is true. Question C, external fertilization takes place in frog. This is also true. External fertilization takes place in frog. Actually, the mother frog will lay eggs in the water medium, then the sperm cells comes from the water and fertilization takes place. So external fertilization is there, so the statement is true. And for this question D, a new human individual develops from a cell called gamete. So for this question, a new human individual develops from a cell called gamete. Actually, this is false. A new human individual develops from a zygote. So this statement is false. For question E, egg laid after fertilization is made up of a single cell. So for this question E, egg laid after fertilization is made up of a single cell. This is true. And for question F, amoeba reproduces by budding. Amoeba reproduces by budding. This is false. Question G, fertilization is necessary even in asexual reproduction. This is false. Fertilization is necessary even in asexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, fertilization is not necessary. So fertilization is necessary for sexual reproduction. So the given statement is false. And for this question I, binary fission is a method of asexual reproduction. So for this I, the statement is true. And I, a zygote is formed as a result of fertilization. A zygote is formed as a result of fertilization. Actually, the statement is true. And J, question J, an embryo is made up of a single cell. This is false. embryo is not made up from a single cell. So an embryo is made up of a single cell. The statement is false. Question 5. Give two differences between a zygote and a fetus. So for this question, you can say in the answer, zygote is single cellular, whereas fetus is a multicellular. And that is one point. In the second point, well-defined body parts are absent in zygote. In fetus, body parts can be identified. So this is 2 points. And for this question number 6. Question number 6, let's see. Define asexual reproduction. Describe two methods of asexual reproduction in animals. So for this question, question 6, we can say asexual reproduction is a mode of reproduction in which only one parent is involved to reproduce offspring. Whereas in asexual reproduction, the offsprings produced are exact copies of their parents. And it is generally observed in very small size organisms. Binary fission, budding, fragmentation, etc. are the examples of asexual reproduction. Question number 7. In which female reproductive organ does the embryo get embedded? For this question number 7, in which female reproductive organ does the embryo get embedded? So the answer is very simple, in the walls of the uterus. In the walls of the uterus. Question number 8. What is metamorphosis? Give examples. Question number 8. Metamorphosis, it is the process of transformation of the larva into an adult through drastic change. That is called metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is a biological process which involves sudden and abrupt changes in the body structure of the animal by cell growth and differentiation. It is generally observed in amphibians and insects, particularly in amphibians and insects. And for question number 9, differentiate between internal fertilization and external fertilization. For this question number 9, we can say difference between internal fertilization and external fertilization. In the internal fertilization, we can say fusion of male and female gametes takes place inside the body, whereas in the external fertilization, fusion of male and female gametes takes place outside the body. And for point number 2, less number of eggs are produced in internal fertilization, whereas in the external fertilization, large number of eggs are produced. And for third point, examples are, we can say cow, dog, human, etc. in the internal fertilization, whereas in external fertilization, we can say frog, fish, etc. So with that, it comes to the end of this video class. In the next video class, let's meet again. Bye.